It's time for the Southern California Foreclosure Report, where we're going to run through the Notice of Trustee Sale, Notice of Default, and REO properties for Southern California. And it's the mid-year update, so we have a lot of data to cover. And have you ever wondered how long it takes for the average foreclosure? Stick around to the end for the eye-popping number for the average foreclosure across the nation. Hey there. Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We've been helping buyers and sellers make the best decisions during these crazy days, and it is time for a Southern California Foreclosure Report where we run through the latest numbers to give you perspective on where we are right now with foreclosures and where we may be headed. So if you're ready to dive into the foreclosure numbers for LA, Orange County, San Diego, San Bernardino, Ventura, and Riverside counties, hit that like button. And let's get started. Let's dive into the mid-year data. Can't wait to show you the numbers and put it all into perspective. We're going to first start with the month-over-month numbers and the notices of default in Southern California in the respective counties we're covering. You can see right here, and of course, if you subscribe to our newsletter, you'll be able to see these charts and play with the data like we're about to. Look at Los Angeles, the white line, and you can easily see what has happened with foreclosures. So the foreclosure moratorium ended officially over the summer, and you can see the increase we see into August. The notices of default started to increase and they moved along smoothly. Then the holidays hit. Typically, a lot of lenders will slow down on the foreclosure process during the holidays. Then it picks back up. There were a few other things that expired at the end of the year that made it easier to foreclose. And you can see the increase. So May for Los Angeles peaked and then things dropped a little bit. We'll get LA out of the way. You can see that in Riverside, it peaked in March and went down and it's going up. Each county, you can see there's a slightly different trend, but in general, for all of these, for June, we're not at a record for the notices of default. Remember, that's the first step in the process. So the very first step, basically someone missed a payment and a minimum of 120 days later, this was filed. Usually it's longer. Moving on to the notice of trustee sale, again, looking at Los Angeles and kind of reading the tea leaves here, we can see that the foreclosure moratorium ended and these trustee sale notices went out. These were vacant properties. These were properties where they had started the foreclosure notice process before COVID. So they quickly dumped those. Then they kind of caught up. It slowed down. January picked up like we saw in the notice of default, it picked up. But it's kind of smoothly moving along. We don't see a huge increase. And of course, don't forget, this is the next step in the process. So this is 90 days after the notice of default was sent. So we're not quite into the notice of trustee sale phase yet. And we'll show you some numbers later on where you can see some crazy numbers of notices of trustee sale. But we do expect as time goes on, this will start to go up as those who've missed payments move through the notice of default and into this phase. Now let's look at the mid-year numbers. And by mid-year, we're running everything from the beginning of the year through June 30th, the first half of the year. And we're going back a few years, back to 2015. And we're going to show you something for perspective. Again, using Los Angeles here as the primary one to look at, we can see the massive drop in 2021 in notices of default. And why was that? Because of foreclosure moratorium. Then we see this big increase. So this is a big number for Los Angeles. We're catching up. Now, if you average together 2021 and 2022, it works out to about a normal number of foreclosure filings. But this is important to see. So notices of default are up, and this is not unexpected. Let's get Los Angeles out of the way. Catching up, and yeah, in general, every county in Southern California, they're up and they're at a higher level than they've been in years past. But let's put some perspective in here. We're going to go ahead and add in 2011. And when you do that, you can see the notices of default. We have double or over double in most of the counties that we're covering here when we go back to 2011. Now, by 2011, notices of default were actually slowing down. This is where the data sunsets. Otherwise, we go farther back. You can thank Black Knight for sunsetting the data. But by then, the notices of default were slowing down. But what was increasing? I'm going to show you now. Moving into the notice of trustee sale mid-year numbers, we can see that unsurprisingly, they're up, but they're not quite as high yet as years past. So 2015, 2016, 2017, even higher number of notices of trustee sale. And again, the reason for that is we're still working through the system. So we're still working through the notice of default into the notice of trustee sale. They got the low-hanging fruit. Actually took care of that last year, a lot of the low-hanging fruit. So here we are now. Those who have missed payments are now working through this. So let's give this some perspective. How do these numbers right now and even 2015 numbers compare to the global financial crisis? Look at the numbers in 2011 for the notice of trustee sale. Yes, that says 18,835 for Los Angeles. That's how many were filed in the first half of the year in 2011. I mean, even for Riverside, almost 10,000 notices of trustee sale were filed in the first half of the year. Massive, massive numbers. So while the notice of default, they weren't quite this high, a lot of those folks had moved through the notices of default into the notice of trustee sale, as you can see in these numbers here. And ultimately, back then, a lot of folks were foreclosed on. Now, foreclosure is essentially a last resort because the majority of people in the foreclosure process right now have equity. And yes, obviously you can be foreclosed on even if you have equity, because the foreclosure process is related to missing payments. If somebody doesn't have the cash to make a payment, they miss their payment. They may have piles of equity in their home. So they would be an example of house rich and cash poor. Those are some of the folks out there right now. What they can do is they can sell conventionally. They don't have to move all the way through the foreclosure process. Moving on to bank-owned homes, also known as real estate owned by the bank, or REO. These are the COVID years. We can see in 2020, the number of properties that went back to the bank started to drop into 2021, and that's because of the foreclosure moratoria. Then we get into 2022, and what we have here is we have a combination of a couple of things leading to these small numbers. In fact, let me get some of these out of the way while I explain. And you can see Orange County, we've actually only had 3 properties that have gone back to the lender in the entire first half of the year of 2022. Why is this? What's happening? Number one is the folks that have missed payments, they're still in previous phases. So we don't have that many that are getting to this point because they're still working their way through the foreclosure process. Number two is they don't have to be foreclosed on. They have equity in their home, so in many cases they can sell. If it does get to that point, number three, here's what happens, is a third party buys it at the sale because they're going to flip it. They're going to make money on the flip. There's a lot of investors still in that business, desperately waiting for more foreclosures to come. So very few properties are actually going back to the lender. Make sure you watch our video on buying at trustee sale. We'll put a link up above so you can do that because things have changed dramatically in the state of California. Another quick important point here, we have 2 ways to track these properties. Down below we have a link where you can sign up to be automatically notified when bank-owned or short sale properties hit the multiple listing service, so you can sign up for that. The other thing you can sign up for is a foreclosure.com account. We have a link below so you can do that. And we're going to be releasing a review and tutorial on how to use foreclosure.com to find the best deals. Adding some perspective to bank-owned homes with some pre-COVID data. We've added in a few more years going back to 2015, and you can still see in 2015 numbers kind of the aftermath of the global financial crisis. Still working through inventory because it takes a while to foreclose, and make sure you stick around to the end because we're going to show you some eye-popping numbers on that. But you can see that the numbers have gradually decreased, and let's get some of these out of the way. LA obviously always is a big market for foreclosures because there's so many darn properties. But you can see here the numbers have continued to decrease. 2018, 2019, things leveled off, and then 2020 through 2022 were the COVID years that changed the number of foreclosures. In any given year, there will be foreclosures, but you can see where we are right now. We are way, way off. A little more perspective, just to show you how bad things got. Let's go back to 2012. You can see for Los Angeles, the first half of 2012, 4,800 properties went back to the bank in the first half of the year of 2012. These are insane numbers compared to where we are now. You can see why when you see these numbers that values dropped when there are that many properties going back to the bank, and then subsequently most of these hit the open market as inventory. So this was a crazy time during the global financial crisis. Thanks for sticking around to the end. We promise to show you just how long the foreclosure process and here are the numbers. These are from Adam Data. We encourage you to click the link below so you can read the rest of this article. Adam does an amazing job of tracking foreclosures throughout the nation, and you can see that the average foreclosure time from missing a payment until the home is foreclosed on is 948 days. So over 2+ years is how long it takes. Another important point to make here is that this is at a national level, and not every state does it like the state of California for the foreclosure process. The states are divided into judicial foreclosure and non-judicial foreclosure. And judicial foreclosure means you need to go in front of a judge in order for the judge to foreclose on the property, and that process typically takes longer. California is a non-judicial foreclosure state. That's where the trustee and the Benny work together to foreclose on the property. It can be a faster process than the judicial foreclosure, but again, it often is delayed and dragged out, not a very quick process. And you can see how this compares going back to Q1 2007, well under 200 days. Part of this is just lenders being more careful. They have more hoops to jump through, and they tend to be more cautious in the foreclosure process to give people more time to get back on their feet, which is a good thing. But you can see that it does take a while to foreclose, 948 days when you average across the nation and put together judicial and non-judicial foreclosure. Did that pop your eyes or what? And don't forget that we are real estate agents based in Southern California. So if you have any questions about the foreclosure process, whether you're in it yourself or you're looking to buy a property in a foreclosure process, make sure you reach out. We have a link below so you can contact us. Let us know in the comments below how long you thought the average foreclosure took, and let us know where you think numbers are headed. Is this just the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning? We want to know. Make sure you subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter so you can get access to the charts that we featured in this video. And foreclosures are just one part of the Southern California market. Make sure you check out this next video where we go into more updates on Southern California real estate. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we want to hear from you.